and welcome to today's webinar presented by Chaden Advisory Services and Accountants World, a preferred provider for MA CPA. We're going to be talking today with Stephen Brewer, CPA, about presenting and packaging CAS/CAS to clients. So Stephen, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me, Div. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. By the way, I think I forgot to mention, I'm Div Bensali. I'm a Vice President here at Accountants World. And Stephen is one of our customers here at Accountants World. So, Steve, let's start by, if you can tell us a little bit about you and your firm. You're located just a little bit outside of Louisville, is that right?
Yeah, we're located just north of Louisville, Kentucky, up into a little rural area in a town called Salem, Indiana. Population of only about 6,500 people for the town and about 12,000 for the entire county. So it's pretty rural area. Not a lot of industrial work or jobs can be found around here, but you know, it's home and where I've made home for years. I'm proud to say next year will be our 25th anniversary for my firm. I have been a practicing CPA since 1987, and I like to say that I have seen a lot of transition within how we work. Starting out with our good old 13-column pad and working through the initial of computers, desktop software, Excel, Lotus 123, and now online software services. Our firm started out like a lot of other firms and did basically tax work and anything that really came through the door so we could pay the bills. Today, we are very much a CAS-based business. Most of our jobs now, 60 to 75% of our work is on a monthly basis, providing various client accounting and advisory services to clients all over the United States. We have clients now in about 21 states, and I like to say we are coast to coast because I have one in Boston, Massachusetts. I have one in Sacramento, California. Still working on that one in Hawaii, but we'll get there one day, I hope. Thanks. But we provide payrolls, bookkeeping, bill pay services, tax prep, and most importantly, consulting services to a lot of small businesses in there. So really have seen a lot of changes in the profession over the years, and really excited for where things are going.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I've known you for a couple of years now, and just seen the growth even during that time, and how it's built on the growth that came before. Very impressive, and we'll get to learn a lot more about how you've become much more service oriented over the course of time. So you and I have talked about offline that the motivation for providing CAS and CAS services to your clients, a lot of the source of that comes down to the client's frustrations and pain points. What are the most common pain points that you're finding and looking to address with your small business clients?
A lot of them can be summed up in surprise. Clients being told that they have to pay taxes when they didn't think they had to. Finding out that the business is not as profitable, or that their margins are not where they thought they would be. They're really looking, but they're also looking for advice. Many of the clients that I deal with are what you would call really small clients. Their gross revenues are probably in the range of $350,000 to $700,000 a year. Maybe up to 5 to 8 employees, maybe a little bit smaller than that. And these are really small people who know what to do. They know how to do their business, but they don't know a lot about business in itself. And they want to learn. They want to be told what they're doing wrong and how to improve, but they don't know where to go for it. So that's their biggest pain point. And a lot of times they stick their head in the sand, as you might say, because they just don't know, and they don't know where to turn. So they suffer a lot of pain, and a lot of it is a silent pain, because unless you observe it, you may not know that they're suffering and things.
Yep.
So a lot of what I do is to try and go through, if I'm talking to a client, it's what is hurting? What don't you know? What do you want to know? What has bothered you? So getting them to talk to you is really important about that. But the other thing that we as advisors need to do is just sit back and listen to them talk in general. And a lot of times we can come up with pain points. So we use those hidden pain points in their discussion to figure out what they need. So it's very important to understand the pain points of the client before we go into trying to put together a package of CAS services for it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think the process of discovery, of helping both you and the client discover their pain points, like you said, they may not even have come into that meeting knowing that they wanted to express to you and that you could help them with. I think it's become in all the accountants that I talk to and that we talk to here at Accountants World, we hear that over and over that that's become an increasingly important part of the job description of what you're doing because small businesses are more complex now, their needs are more varied, and you can't necessarily make assumptions about what it is they need.
That is correct. We need to use those pain points in your development of a CAS services. One of the things that we talk about is developing a package of services, just like a package that you might buy off the shelf for a product. But we use those pain points to now modify a package to best meet those pains. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to match up our package of services to the pains of the client and give them the relief, I guess you could call it, that they need.
Yep. All right. That's great. So let's walk through a couple of scenarios that you put together here.
Sure. Okay. So we have a client come in, and Bob Smith, he comes in, he brings his information into us on March 1st for his corporation, which is due March 15th. None of us have that problem, do we? No, we don't have that. So he looks at me and goes, Steve, I'm sorry I'm so late with this. I've been really busy with work. I barely got this done this past weekend, and I hope I got everything. I think I made all my estimates as you wanted me to. Of course, those were based on prior year. Not sure why you want my bank statements, but I know I have money in the bank because I check it online at least once a week. Okay. I hope you can keep me from paying a lot of taxes. I'm leaving the town on the 12th. So do you think you can have it done by then? And then I'll get you a check when I get back in town on April 1st. Okay. So there's a scenario. Client has brought in the information to us, and now we're going to try and process this. So now we're going to move to, okay, we've went from the initial dropping off of information. We've now processed it. Let's go to the next meeting, which is after the tax return's done. Okay, so Mr. Smith comes back in. You go, hey, Bob, you're going to owe another $10,000 in taxes. He goes, what do you mean I owe $10,000? I made all my estimates. In fact, I know I had a better year, but I didn't have that good of one, did I? I bought a building for the business. Did you write that off? What do you mean I was overdrawn at the bank at year end? What loans? I don't remember drawing on a line of credit during the year. I really wish someone could help me understand this mess and keep me on track. I know what I know, and it seems that I get bit by what I don't know. Okay, so here's the whole scenario that we have, and I'm sure we have all seen this, especially during tax season. We have these clients that come in and there's surprise all over this thing. Now we're going to take a look at it here and figure out what pain points we have just found in this interaction with the clients. So if we could see the next screen, good. All right, so the client has said, man, I am really busy. I'm just too busy to keep up to date. I had to sit down over the weekend. I'm not, and he wasn't sure he got all of his transactions. He made the comment about that. He says, I think I got everything. Well, there was an important word right there, think. So that word right there kind of puts a suspicion in your mind. He says he doesn't feel competent in doing what he's doing. He says, I know what I know, but I get bit by what I don't know. He wants help in understanding what's going on. He said that. He's frustrated because he owes taxes and he doesn't like getting surprised. And he doesn't understand why a building couldn't be completely written off. Those are just things off the top that we come up with in that conversation of pain points. So we're going to try and come up with a package of CAS services that's going to address all these issues for him. So we have his pain, but that's one side of the issue. We always think about we're going to serve the client, but in today's world, we need to think about our pain too. So let's look at the pain that we as the CPA firm have in this scenario.
Yep. And before we move on to that, just to
Okay.
recap, I think what the main themes I'm hearing here in terms of the client's pain is that it's coming from, number one, a lack of education about accounting and to some extent, even the drivers of their business potentially. Number two is frustration and surprises, as you mentioned before.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, it's a limited amount of time, and the time constraint on their side now will end up as a time crunch on your side. And then also, to some extent, maybe unrealistic expectations of you, the accountant, and your firm as well. Is that accurate? Is there any
That's
big theme
accurate.
that I missed
That's
there?
very, and you have a combination there of his pain and our pain. But you are right. I mean, those are the things that definitely come out of there, and we want to address those as we go on.
All right, great. So let's go ahead and use that as a transition over to your side.
Yeah, this is the pain that I would feel in this situation. It's March 1st, due March 15th. We are in the middle of our busiest time of the year. I don't know about a lot of you, but my busiest time, and I am a practicing CPA doing about 500 to 600 returns a year, between February 15th and probably March 20th is our busiest time. So this guy comes in during our busiest time. We're already almost maxed out. And he says he wants to have it done before he leaves town on the 12th. And he brought it in on the 1st. So there we go. We've got an unrealistic expectation. Oh, and he goes, oh, I'll pay you when I get back in town on April 20th. Okay, so now we're going to have to push this through. He's been a good client. We push it through, we get it done, but we're going to have to wait on getting paid. We have our limited amount of staff. If a small firm, it's hard to find good staffing, and I'm sure that you have already got them almost maxed out. They're probably even overworked. They're probably pushing a lot of hours too. The client has gotten upset with us because of an unrealistic expectations, that, hey, I'm owing more taxes. Well, who's the first person that gets, yelled at? It's the first person in line, and that's usually us. Even though it's not our fault, we're the ones that get yelled at. And I always have said this over the years, we feel like we're an ambulance driver. We're doing after the fact work. I feel like as an ambulance driver, all we're doing when we do a lot of tax returns is we're just kind of picking up the body off of the road after the car wreck and putting it in the ambulance. That's it. We're working after the fact and trying to make the best of the situation we have in front of it. So, and when it's all said and done, we as his accountant really don't have a lot of satisfaction out of that work. What accomplishment is there? We're dealt the hand that we're dealt, and we're trying just to make the best of the situation, and we're just going through the motions at that point. So, it's just not a satisfying situation for us as a CPA firm. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to address both sides of this situation with packages and things and see what we can do to make, a balance of his pain and our pain go away.
All right. Now, Steve, before we get deeper into the packaging of your services, can you explain how you define a service package and why it's important to both your firm and your clients?
Sure. Basically, what we've done is, of course, like any other firm, we have our actual services in themselves that we provide, whether it is bookkeeping or write-up, bill pay services, financial statement preparation, consulting, payroll services, tax advisory service that we have, which is a calculation of estimates during the year and also tax planning. We take those services and we look at how can we put those in a product, let's call it a product or package, into, each product, they get a certain amount of services are already built into that. So it's just like pulling something off the shelf and saying, okay, this is the product that we have that we would like to give to you or sell to you or have you take and use to solve your product. But based upon your pain, we want to make these modifications to it. So it's just nothing more than a group of services. And the way I approach it is this. Once I determine this pain, I try to look at everything that we as a firm need to do for that client for a year, for the next 12 months, everything that is and what service he's going to need. And that defines, which package I'm going to use and what modifications I need to make to that package to solve their pain. But packages are not, I can't just take a package off the shelf and say, this is what you need. The base package itself is the starting point for resolving the pain. I've got to now take the pain and make that package fit the pain. So you as the advisor need to look at your client and say, okay, here's the services he needs right now to address exactly what he's doing, but what does he really need on top of that? And this is where we have to turn the mirror on ourselves and look at ourselves as a business owner, step back and say, if I'm in his shoes, what do I need to know? And those are the services that we want to offer on top of this to him to help him better run his business. And that's what part of the goal of packagings is not only to alleviate the pain, but make the client's business better. All right. So what we try and do in a package is we just try to structure our services together into a package that we can show to the client and say, here we go, this is what we think we can do for you, and we're going to give you some options here as to the different types of packages we have, and what do you think is one that you want us to try and do for you. But we're just trying to, again, take a base package, modify it for the pain, and then hopefully they will let us fix the pain that they have.
Yeah. Steve, listening to you talk about that, it makes me wonder, as you've made the transition to being much more services oriented, I'm wondering if your firm would have even been able to fully make that transition without appropriately packaging. If you were selling a la carte, if it was a much looser structure than what you've put into place, would it even have been possible for you to achieve the results that you've seen?
I don't think it would have been, and I think here is one of the ideas behind that is people want. Okay, it's like going to the restaurant, and if you notice, most restaurants nowadays don't sell a la carte too much. Okay, so when you buy a dinner, you're usually going to get the main dish and a couple sides and maybe an appetizer or a salad. So that's actually a package. All right, and we our clients want the same thing. They just want to know, I have got this problem and I want to get it fixed, and I want to know what I'm getting and I want to know what I'm paying for it. So this is how we kind of go through all this. It's just that, and you're right, having the packages together and addressing all these has really helped build our business in that respect.
Yep. All right. So let's go down for sort of how you get started with that process.
Sure. I mean, this was actually probably the easiest starting point I had was, looking at a lot of, first off, my pain appropriately, all this work we were trying to do on an annual basis. So I'm started looking for clients who I would call the low-hanging fruit clients. And those were our business clients who were coming in once a year, bringing us, their registers, their QuickBooks, backups or whatever they had and dumping it on us. And then we're having to rush through and not give them the advice and things that they wanted. They were getting surprised with taxes. They were frustrated because their business, as hard as they were working, didn't seem to be growing. So that was my starting point. It was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to take these clients and I'm going to figure out what it's going to take to alleviate pain on both sides. So we just really took a look at those. In fact, I had it in my mind for, starting into tax season one year, and I just maintained a pad of paper on my desk. And as I came across those clients, I started writing their names down. So at the end of tax season, I had this list of clients who I wanted to go back and, look at their stuff and figure out what their pain was and what I needed to do. And so that was a very easy starting point for us and things. So, you as the advisor, as the CPA, probably have those clients, and those are the easiest ones to go after because they're already frustrated and they're looking for help. And it doesn't take a lot of marketing to get those people in.
All right. So Steve, if you're ready, now that you've talked about the basics of packages and we've talked about some of the pain points on both sides, if you can talk a little bit about how you marry those two together, how
Okay.
you're matching the package offerings to the client pain, and kind of walk us through that process.
Okay. Let me give you an example here. I have, I think a lot of us who sit a lot, we have back issues and things. So started going to a chiropractor. And I was very impressed because he came in, he did his evaluation of my back, of my situation, and he said, okay, I need you to come back tomorrow and we're going to go over what's going on with you and what I think I can do. He came back to me with a package. He said, here's what I'm going to do. You're going to have you come see me 3 times a week for this number of weeks, and then you go down to 2, and then you'll be down to 1. And during this time, here's in this package you're going to purchase, here is also these therapies that we're going to run for you. So he took my physical pain and came back to me and said, I can do this for you. Here's the layout of what we're going to do. So that right there was an example of a package to address a pain. And that's what he did. He looked at my back, looked at my and things, looked at my muscles, figured out where my pain points were, and then he came up with all the solutions that I needed in one package. I didn't have to go there and say, well, okay, what about doing a therapy, or what sort of therapy do you recommend? And, what are you going to do for me, in an adjustment? He just said, this is what we're going to do. This is how we recommend that we treat you in this situation. So he had modified that package. Now, what we're doing here when I say modify a package and the pain point, it's kind of like, I like to say it's between restaurant food and military food. What I mean by restaurant food is a couple of weeks ago, we had a chance my wife and I and some friends had a chance to go down to a new restaurant that just opened up, which I know is a rarity in today's new normal, but I'd heard good things about this restaurant. So we went down there and they had their daily special. It was a nice steakhouse. So it was a steak, couple of sides, the salad bar. They did not just say, okay, that's what you're going to get. They didn't go to the back. They pulled a steak off. They, just give me two sides that they picked and put it down in front of me. They were like, okay, how do you want your steak? What two sides do you want? And when I went through the salad bar, they were like, what do you want on your salad? What do you want on your plate? They modified within the package itself to what I wanted. Whereas if you've been in the military, and I have not, but I have a lot of friends who have been, I have a son-in-law who's in the military, and I thank everybody who's listening who has served or are serving, and thank you very much for that. But when you're going down the line, as I have always heard at time for something to eat, it's pretty much plop it on the plate and you eat it. You don't have much choice in it. It's like the MRE when you're out on service and things. You have no choice. And we're trying to be like the restaurant and take our package and modify that to what the client wants or needs. In our case, I feel like you need to give them some options. Don't just say this is the way it's going to be. I think clients are a little bit gun shy in the beginning, and they want to still know they have some control. So you give them some options to pick from. Now, in our case, we define ours as at 3 different levels: a light level, a standard level, and a premium service level. So what it is at the light level, we allow the clients to do their own accounting, but they have to use our accounting system, which is Accountant's World. So we'll train them, we'll give them all the necessary training. I send them documents with how-tos and things like that so they can process everything. Most of the time in our standard package, then we'll make sure that the bank accounts get reconciled. If there's credit card accounts, those get reconciled. In our base package, there's not a whole lot else in there. They would have the ability to pull their own financial statements, but there'll be tax return prep like that. And that's pretty much a base system. Now, that again can be modified. With our standard package, we take away the transactional processing. My staff of bookkeepers, one of them will actually every month enter all the transactions after the fact based upon bank statements, credit card statements, documents that they send in to us. So we will process everything, reconcile everything, and then that's where we a lot of times move up automatically in that package will be financial statements. How frequently do you want those? Monthly, quarterly? We try to schedule what I call a coaching meeting with me to go over those financial statements. I want the client to understand what they're looking at, why the numbers are what they are, what makes up those numbers, what they can do to change the numbers. Are they in line with where norms? Things like that. Of course, then we also put in there in that standard package, we do what we call a tax advisory service. And in our tax advisory service, it is made up of 2 things. One, starting with the second quarter estimate, we actually recalculate the second, third, and fourth quarter estimates based upon current year data. If we're doing the bookkeeping and that's all up to date, we should be able to give them a good idea of what their estimates should be every quarter. That way, there's no surprises pretty much by the end of the year. Also, the second aspect is, okay, here is a report to you somewhere about this time of the year, September, October, of saying, here's what you can do between now and the end of the year, tax-wise, to change things. Do we need to consider putting a set retirement plan in? Do you need to go out and buy some more equipment? What can we do to change the numbers? So that's a service that gets added on. And then the premium C service is really a full-fledged bookkeeping service. We do bill pay. We have done invoicing. Basically, we are initiating and originating all the transactions in our premium level service. So we give them that option. But we start a package listing of services within each one of those and modify accordingly.
That's great. So, Steve, a couple of questions for you here before we move on. So you mentioned the 3 levels that you have. What would you say is the approximate breakdown of what percentage of your clients fall into each of those three levels of packages that you offer?
I can actually tell you we're probably looking at 90% take the standard. Okay. I would say 1% is premium and the rest of it would be light.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
again, some of those may be modified. I just did a proposal the other day for a client that they wanted, we took the light package and then we added on, us to do a financial statement every quarter. So that package was modified a little bit for there. But that was based upon the needs of the client. They said, we really want to do our own accounting. So that says, okay, you're going to do the light package, but we want you to do this and this. I was like, okay, I'll start there and, modify that situation. But standard, and a lot of that comes from the aspect that my clients are so busy doing their job,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have time to do the accounting, you know. So it all gets left behind. We have a pretty good chance that if they're going to take a light package, usually within 6 to 9 months, they're going to upgrade that to a standard package to have us keep everything up to date.
Yep. Yep.
Because
Well,
we actually make that when we're doing what we do on a light package, when we're going at it and saying, we want to reconcile the bank account, my staff will, I don't want to say hound, but they will call the client and say, have you reconciled the bank account this month? Or, do you have everything in? Things like that and then the client starts going like, man, I don't have time to do this. So how about if I just pay you guys to do it? So
yeah.
they'll move up to a standard pretty quickly.
Yep, yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I'll also say, I'm a marketing guy, and I've studied packaging in sort of across industries. And a consistent theme is if you give people three sets of tiered packages, the majority of people, their eyes are immediately going to be drawn to the middle one because they'll
Mhm.
think, well, I don't necessarily want to spend as high as the top tier. The bottom one may not have as many services. So first, let me investigate the middle tier and see if that meets my needs.
Right.
Um, and so, if we know that going in, that the majority of people are first going to be examining your middle option, what you want to do is make sure that your middle option is a true win-win, that it actually meets the needs of the majority of your clients, that it's something they're going to be satisfied with and experience real value from, and that the output of that middle level is something that works for your firm, both financially and strategically as well. So, a mistake that I've seen, and this isn't just in accounting services, I've seen this in other service-oriented businesses as well, is that the provider of services gets either too aggressive or too passive, and they make the preferred option from their perspective either the top tier or the lower tier, and the problem is that doesn't match your client's expectations here. So I think what you've laid out here, Steve, really matches with packaging theory in general, which is you want the middle tier to be the one that's a win-win for both you and the majority of your clients, and then
Right.
ones with more exceptional cases or situations, they can look at the other two
That's right.
sets if they need to.
It's kind of like that bell curve that we all studied when we were in
Yep.
college and in high school. So we're going to put them in the top of that bell curve, and then we've got our two options on the ends.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right. Now, one other question for you, Steve, before we go on, and this question, if you want to answer later when we talk about the impact of CAS, I can hold off on it. But if you have a new client walk in the door and they say, well, Steve, I've already got an accounting package. Why do I need to use your system? How do you respond to that?
Um, I respond to it as, this is the way that I have decided to work. And I can't be an expert in everything that comes out. I like to use the analogy is a carpenter has certain tools he works with. Maybe it's a particular brand, maybe it's just a particular type, but he is very comfortable with that tool. And that is his craft. And that's the same way with me. This is my craft. I'm going to use a tool that I am comfortable with and know a lot about and know how to make it work. I understand that, but that you like this package. But then I'll look at the client and go like, which is more important to you? Is it more important the tool that I use or the results that you get? You know,
Yep.
that's most. If you're results oriented, you're from me that my results are what you want. You're not going to really care about the tools I use so long as I give you the results.
Yep. Yep, that's a great way to put it. All right, so let's keep moving along. I want to make sure we can cover all of this.
Sure.
So a little bit more information here about matching your packages to your paint.
Yeah, and that's one of the things going in before you talk to the client, just making sure that what you're saying, you have reviewed their pain and you have an idea about it, what pain points is your package going to address, because you're going to want to present it this way. All right, how are things going to be better for the client? How's it going to be better for you as the CPA? What's going to happen there? And make sure that not only are you addressing in this the current pain that you see, but what other pain points in the future may crop up and that you're going to be able to take care of before they happen. Because remember, one thing that we are trying to get to is to be a proactive advisor for your client. All right. So you, as the advisor, have to be anticipating what pain points can be and how you're going to address that before they ever get to be a pain point and things. What's a couple of things that we also ask, we have clients who do have specialty softwares. I'll give you three examples. We do have a niche market in home inspection businesses throughout the U.S. There is a large software company that a lot of them use for booking and report services. We have found that has a lot of data in it, not only just accounting data, but there has management data in there that we are able to pull and use to help our clients. So we ask them, if you can, give us access to that so we can get in there and pull the relevant data. We've been working actually with, dog grooming businesses. They have some specialty software. Give us that. And then we also been starting to get into some high-end hair salons. Every one of them have a specialty software. A lot of it is, you might refer to it as a POS type system. And we ask, give us access to that so we can see what's there. What can we pull out of that to help you better manage your business? Because honestly, the client doesn't know. They know just enough to get what they need out of it, but they never look beyond that. And as their advisor, we need to look beyond that for them and things. And we're just, again, going to, with our packages, what problems could crop up in the future as you're growing, what can come up at certain levels. I mentioned, that I'm working with a home inspection industry. I've been in that profession now, that industry, for about 7 years. So I have a feel for, okay, as the company is growing, when it starts to get to certain revenue levels, you need to make this step, or you're going to start to see this problem, and you need to address this. So we're watching for that. Where do you need to think about you're just a sole proprietor right now? When do you get to the point you need to hire somebody? What does that look like? How do you handle it? How do you pay them? Those are all what we as the advisor have to be looking for. Now, I'm going to hit on something here, and this is in talking with a lot of CPA owners and things, I think is the most difficult part that they have. Most of us started our career as auditors. We went to, whether it was, a big A firm back when I started, or a regional firm or a local firm, and you did audits. Now, auditing is great. It gives you, a great way to get a lot of background. It gives you, I want to say, also a curiosity, because you have to keep searching for things. But you have to turn off, when you go into these services, you have to totally do away with your auditor mentality in the aspect that an auditor is really a very cold person. You know, all they want to do is use the rigid standards of GAAP and independence. Those are just two words that I hear all the time in this that, you know, I think pretty much limits someone to doing advisory CAS services. The advisor, when you become an advisor, you got to become more caring about the client. You have to become more entrenched in the client. You have to really care about the client to try and do the best by them. You almost take on a fiduciary role. And the other thing is independence. You know, I've had them say, you know, I don't want to lose my independence. Well, that's fine if you're doing auditing. But if you're really working with your clients, you know, independence is really not going to, it's going to go out the door. You know, I've had many clients that look at me and we're talking about a decision and they go like, well, Steve, whatever you think I need to do, I'm going to do it. It's like, oh, wow, you know, that's not independent. So it's like, okay, you know, and or they'll just say, you know, you go ahead and do it, Steve. You know, whether maybe your staff is transferring money from one account to another, or, Steve, I want you to get this proposal ready for me to send off to a new client. We are not independent, and we need to realize that, and we need to get that attitude as an auditor and wanting to keep independence. We need to get rid of that, and and take on that very caring, entrenched attitude as we're putting these packages together to help our clients become better business people and have a more successful business.
Yep, that's a great point. I had another accountant say to me at some point, you know, the concept of independence doesn't mean that if I see my small business client getting into a symbolic car crash, I just sit and watch it and analyze it. My job is to help them avoid that crash. So I think that totally aligns with what you're saying here as well.
Yes, very much.
So let's focus on the next step now. You've got the series of packages, you've made them client-centric as well as a win-win for your firm as well. What's the next step in terms of how you present that to your clients?
Well, we put together a package, and I try to keep this simple. You know, clients, they don't have time to go through everything. They want you to explain it to you, and I always have loved this concept. I heard that if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you can't explain it. And if I keep it when I'm talking to a client, and I don't mean you talk down to them or something like that. You just don't want to be using all the jargon and words and things that we have in our industry. They don't care about debits and credits. You know, they don't care about journal entries. They don't care about posting. They don't know what those words mean. So get yourself ready to present to them, but do it in a manner that can be very understood. So we put together a package, and basically it's really just two main documents. One is a single sheet of paper that has all three of the package levels laid out, and under each column of each service will list every service they're going to get and then what it's going to cost them for the month. And that's what we do. I price the package out for the entire year. We set certain parameters in there saying, okay, we're going to work on an average number of disbursements out of your bank account a month. Because one of the things we ask for is send us a couple bank statements so we can see what we're working with. How many employees are we working with on average? How frequently are we paying? How frequently do you want your financials? Those are all factors in my pricing. So I'll price that out for the entire year. And maybe, just an example, that total for the year is $6,000. We'll price it at $500 a month. And so my one-page summary of services will have, here's the light package, here's what the services you're going to get, here's the monthly fee for it. Same for standard, same for premium. So they see exactly what they're going to get and how much it's going to cost them. So we have that packet, we have that paper, and then we have about a 4-page document that we call our service level agreement. And it just lays out in there what the expectations are, when we're going to do what, and again, here's the pricing on it, and we need you to sign this service level agreement, mark which service level you want, and just sign the paperwork, and that starts the whole process then from us. That's not an engagement letter, okay? You basically say that is just your contract for services, is what it is. So, but they're all printed out, visual, color, to catch the eye, and things like that. And, when I sit down with the client to go over it, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to say, look, here's my observation of what I would call pain points that I have seen coming from you over the last 6 months to a year. And tell me if I'm right on these. And I'll go through them, and they'll pretty much go like, yep, you're right there. And I said, you have these pain points. Let me tell you what pain point I have working with you in this current scenario. And I'll lay out exactly, where I'm feeling at on this stuff. And I will say, you bring this stuff in, I am just swamped, and you wanted it then. That's really an unrealistic expectation. I'm not satisfied because you got angry with us because you owe taxes, which really wasn't our fault. I'm trying to deal with something after the fact, and I have very little wiggle room to make any magical changes, as I would like to call it. And, it's just not satisfying to me as a person and as a professional to be doing this. And I will lay that out. And I think they appreciate it, to know that their decisions, the way they want to do it, how it affects other people. So I'll talk to them about that and say, okay, so we've laid out all the pain. Now I want to show you what I think we can do to fix those pains. And so I'll pull the paperwork out. I'll go over first the package levels, and I'll explain each one of those services, what it is doing and why I think that is an important thing. So I will give that. And, if I feel there's a drawback for them and things, like if I look at the light package and I've given that, and I know really they probably don't have the time or the knowledge to sit down and do that, I will just say, I give you this option, but do you really have the time to sit down and do this? Or, here's the premium package, but it's pretty expensive. You have to do this and this. And again, I'm kind of almost directing them to the middle, is what I'm doing. Now, one thing I think we as accountants and advisors fail to do is to discuss our successes that we have in these packages. The one I like to bring about is our ability to get your tax returns done in a timely manner at the end of the year. I have a wonderful staff. I have a wonderful team that stays right on top of this stuff. For the last 3 years, they have actually done year-end close after doing year-end payroll stuff. My staff does both bookkeeping and payroll for a client. So they'll do the year-end payroll, and they'll close out the books, and we'll usually have those ready by February 10th. So we're ready to do their tax returns, which maybe that client was a perpetually late person that was always on extension, and we didn't get nothing, they didn't get stuff to us till June or July. We're able to do their tax return in February. If we're doing your payroll, you've been getting notices that you forgot to do your 941s. We're going to eliminate those. With our tax advisory service, we're going to do your estimates so you don't owe so much, or we're not going to have any surprises at the end of the year. When you start talking about how successful things like that's been, we talk about, watching over your tax entity situation. If you are an LLC and you're doing a Schedule C or a partnership return, does it make sense at some point to convert that to an S Corp? And what does that mean? And what could that do for you? And use an example of, don't use your client's name, but say XYZ company, this is the way they were. They came to us and we made a change and we saved them X amount of dollars by making this change. We need to talk about our successes that we have experienced for clients in doing packages and what it's done for them. And if they can see that there has been success, that's another thing that'll help drive them to look at a package with you.
Yep, sounds great. So Steve, in the interest of time, because we've only got about 6 minutes left here,
Okay.
if you don't mind, we're going to go really quickly through
Sure.
the pricing and presenting, and then get over to impact on CAS.
Okay. Okay. Pricing. I don't care what you call it: flat fee, value, subscription basis. Call it just or use it. That's up to you. But the client wants to know what they're paying for. Just make sure you do your due diligence in how you do your pricing. I see a lot of firms still trying to estimate hours on what it's going to take to do things. I do mine on a transactional basis, almost like a production. You know, how many checks am I going to process? I have a factor for every check, you know, monetary factor. How many paychecks am I going to run? I have a monetary factor for that. I have a flat fee for, you know, financial statements, you know, however frequent I run them, it's time that's flat fee, you know, a flat fee for a service, and I just put that together. So that's how I do my pricing, and I then, you know, figure that up for the year. So remember this, when you quote the monthly fee, that monthly fee is for the current month and the future. So when I quote the monthly fee, they're not only paying for me to do their bookkeeping for the month, but they're also paying ahead for the tax return or the property tax return that's going to be done next year. Your monthly fee should not include prior year work. All right, that is quoted separately. Now, one thing we run into, especially the first 7-8 months of the year, is a client will come to us and we got to go back to January and get caught up. So I'll do a catch-up fee, as I call it, a catch-up or transactional fee. I will take my monthly fee times that number of months, and then I will modify that because, okay, we're 9 months into it. I won't do a first quarter or a second quarter estimate. I don't get to do a tax advice, you know, a tax estimate for second quarter. I'll take a factor out for those services, and I'll call them and I'll say, okay, look, to get caught up, here is a dollar amount I need to catch up, and then starting on this month, such as right now, if I was doing one, I would say November 1st, we will start billing you, you know, on a monthly basis. But to do January through October, you need to pay me this amount. Now, I have used that as to where I will, you know, cut the deal, as you could say, to get the client. I will cut those in a way that I will work with the client on that. Maybe they can't afford all that up front. I'll go like, okay, can you pay it off over 6 months? So you'll have your monthly fee plus, you know, for the next 6 months, an additional fee for that catch up. Or if you pay me that today, I'll knock 10% off. So you're going to make a deal on that one. Right now, we're getting late enough in the year. I'm actually really telling clients, it says, look, let's not even do a catch-up fee. Let's not even worry about processing 2020 stuff. You go ahead and do 2020, get that information together, and we'll just start January 1 with a monthly fee. You send me your stuff in the condition you have it right now and pay me separate for that. So prior year work should always be, and prior period of time should always be a separate fee, okay, from the monthly fee.
All right, that sounds great. So you've got a little bit more information here about the actual presentation, but if it's okay with you, shall we move on to the impact slide?
Let's go right ahead. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
So let's talk about how CAS has impacted my firm, and I think could impact any firm. You know, I had that same issue, a lot of it when you're tax-based. Man, you have this big influx of money come in February, March, early April. You know, it's 75-80% of your revenue for the year. And then you're struggling throughout the year to get that, you know, to make it through because now you're dwindled down. With doing monthly CAS type work, you now have a consistent cash flow come into your firm. I know exactly every month how much we're going to bill out, and it's on clockwork. My staff sends those bills out on January 1, on the first of the month, and it's consistently in this range of monthly fee. I can count on that and things. And, you know, we have contracts with the clients that basically say, you know, you're on either for a year or an indefinite, you know, until one of us, of the parties, cancels the services. I myself am much happier. I have better client relationships. I have had more fun with my firm and doing my work over the last 5 years than I did the whole 20 years before that. And it's all because of my clients. My clients appreciate us more. I've had gifts sent to us. I get comments from them all the time about, you really did a great job. And that actually goes even for my staff. My staff, I get comments from clients, you got a great staff. I really think the world of them. You guys are doing a great job. She took care of me here. That's great. And it also helps us because doing with CAS, we get more organized work in and process it more efficiently. The staff and the clients know that if we're going to get them the information they want when they want it, they need to get us information on a timely basis. And so we've trained the staff, we've trained the client, say, get this stuff to us so we can do that. I said earlier about a consistent flow, back as late as 2014, 60% of my revenue came from those annual tax return clients. 40% was from some monthly payroll we did, some monthly write-up work we did, but not enough to justify, to make it profitable for most of the remaining year. We've got into this situation now and we've reversed those numbers. 40% or less of our gross revenue in a year now comes from annual tax returns for those people that just come see us once a year. The remaining 60% or more is now coming from that monthly billing model. And that has really worked for that. Here's the great thing. We have grown our overall revenue tremendously over the last 5 years, but my number of clients really hasn't changed. What's changed is the makeup of those clients. We all know that we hear it all the time, the individual tax return is going away. We're seeing less and less, and that is very true. So you've got to replace those with good quality CAS clients. And think about it. How many individual clients can you give up or let go away with one good CAS client? If you got a CAS client paying you $10,000 a year, how many individual returns can you give up and still maintain the same level of revenue? But you have 9 less clients now, and you're working less, really. So those have been some great impacts. I like to also say, from our success tax season, the last 3 years prior to that, I worked 7 days a week, just like a lot of us did. 7 days a week, 70, 80-hour weeks, things like that. This last tax season, I think I worked 3 Sundays. And most Saturdays I was out of here by 3 or 4 o'clock. And then the weekdays I was out of here by 6. The tax season before, I didn't work one Sunday. I did not work one Sunday. And that's all because we've got clients on this system so that it went well.
That's great. Well, Steve, I want to thank you for all the terrific information today and kind of your insight into how you built this sort of practice. Any closing words from you?
I want everybody just to remember, this is my take. This is how I built my business. I'm not going to say this is going to be a success for you, but what I really hope is that everyone out there will pick up at least one golden nugget out of what I've said and apply it. And hopefully that'll make you more successful. But you have to build your service, or find one that you like to start as a base and modify it. But you got to do something with it. Okay, just take what it makes sense to you and use it, and everything else just forget about it. Just use what you know. I am open to working with CPA firms to help them build these. I have my own advisory, that's Chad Advisory Services. I do consulting for small CPA firms to help them move into the CAS services, because there's a lot of things I think that need to be addressed, not only from a tech side, but organizational side, mental side, a lot of that stuff. I help people work through that. So I'm open to inquiries on that. You have my contact information there. You can feel free to call me on it or email me, and we'll schedule a meeting and talk about them.
That sounds great. Thanks so much for your time today, Steve. And I also want to remind anybody listening to this, if you'd like to learn more about the solutions that Steve is using for his accounting service, you see the Accountants World logo in the bottom right. We're one of the leading providers of cloud-based solutions. Our solutions are exclusively for professional accountants. They're designed with your needs in mind so that you can best serve your clients. So if you'd like to learn more, go to accountantsworld.com and you can schedule a demo, watch our videos, and hopefully get more informed about what we're doing. Steve, thanks again so much for your time today.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it.